My child, pause here for a moment. Do not hurry past these words as though they are merely another voice in the noise. Something has been waiting for you to become still enough to hear it. You did not arrive here by accident, and what you are about to receive was not meant for the person you were yesterday. It was meant for the version of you who has survived one more silent night, carried one more unanswered question, and whispered into the darkness, "Does this person still feel what I feel?" There is an answer moving toward you. Not an easy answer. Not a shallow answer. Not the kind that can be explained in one sentence and forgotten before morning. This answer has been forming inside another heart for longer than you know. Your soulmate has been hoping that somehow, through the distance, the silence, the confusion, and every wall built between you, you would finally hear what they have been unable to say. They have imagined speaking to you many times. They have formed the words while staring at a dark ceiling. They have rehearsed them while driving alone, while standing beneath running water, while pretending to listen to conversations that could not hold their attention. They have almost written the message. They have almost made the call. They have almost reached across the space between you. But each time, something stopped them. You may believe it was pride. Part of it was. You may believe it was fear. That was there too. But there is something deeper, something they have not admitted even to themselves. They are afraid that when they finally tell you the truth, you will realize how much power your presence has always held in their life. They are afraid you will see through them completely. Your soulmate hopes you will hear this today. They did not become distant because they stopped caring. They became distant because caring began to change them in ways they did not understand. Your love reached places they had kept guarded for years. It awakened memories they had buried. It exposed wounds they had disguised as independence. It made them question the life they were building and the person they had learned to pretend to be. And instead of telling you that, they became quiet. You felt that silence as rejection. They experienced it as panic. There were moments when you wondered whether you had imagined the connection. You questioned every look, every conversation, every strange coincidence that seemed to bring your paths together. You replayed the tenderness, searching for proof that it had been real. Then you replayed the distance, searching for proof that it had not. But heaven saw what neither of you could explain. There was a moment, small in appearance, enormous in consequence, when your soulmate looked at you and realized you could become the one person they would never be able to forget. They did not tell you when it happened. Perhaps you were speaking about something ordinary. Perhaps you were laughing. Perhaps you looked away before you noticed the change in their eyes. But something inside them became still. For one brief moment, they saw beyond the present. They saw what it might feel like to come home to you. They imagined your voice in the rooms of their future. They felt a strange peace, followed almost immediately by fear. That fear has been controlling more of this story than you know. Your soulmate is not only afraid of losing you. They are afraid of being truly loved by you. Losing love is painful, but receiving real love can be terrifying to someone who has spent years believing affection must be earned, chased, proven, or eventually taken away. You offered something different. You saw them beneath the performance. You noticed when their smile changed. You sensed what they were not saying. You gave tenderness without forcing them to explain why they needed it. And that is why they have not been able to forget you, even during the moments when they tried. Yes, they tried. They tried to distract themselves. They filled their time. They surrounded themselves with noise. They told themselves that what happened between you was simply timing, attraction, loneliness, or coincidence. They attempted to place your memory in a smaller part of their heart, somewhere it could not interrupt their plans. But your memory would not remain small. It appeared in unexpected places. A song carried your presence. A familiar phrase sounded like your voice. A quiet evening suddenly felt incomplete. They saw something beautiful and instinctively thought of telling you. They experienced something painful and wished you were the one beside them. Even when they refused to speak your name, their heart continued the conversation. And there is one memory they return to more than the others. It is not necessarily the most romantic moment you shared. It may not be the moment you would choose. It was something subtle, a pause, a glance, an act of patience, a sentence you may not even remember saying. But it revealed your heart to them. In that moment, they understood that your care was not a game. You were not trying to control them. You were not searching for a temporary distraction. You were offering a kind of sincerity they had prayed for and then failed to recognize when it arrived. That realization did not come immediately. It came later, after the silence. It came when they compared the peace they felt with you to the emptiness they felt without you. It came when they remembered how safe it felt to be seen and how exhausting it felt to return to pretending. It came when they understood that the qualities they once found overwhelming in you were the very qualities their soul had been asking for. Your depth frightened them because they were accustomed to shallow waters. Your loyalty frightened them because they had learned to expect abandonment. Your honesty frightened them because it made hiding impossible. Your love frightened them because some part of them knew it could become permanent. Listen carefully, because this is where the message begins to shift. Your soulmate is reaching a point where silence hurts more than truth. For a long time, they believed avoiding the conversation would protect them. They thought time would weaken the connection. They expected your presence to fade into something manageable. Instead, the unanswered words have grown heavier. They are carrying sentences they wish they had said sooner. They are carrying apologies that have become more difficult with every passing day. They are carrying a truth that presses against their chest whenever they imagine you moving forward without them. And lately, that image has become unbearable. They have started wondering whether someone else will recognize what they were too afraid to cherish. They wonder whether another person will receive the tenderness they mishandled. They imagine you laughing with someone who does not make you question your worth. They imagine you feeling safe in arms that do not pull away when love becomes real. This thought has awakened something urgent within them. Not jealousy alone. Regret. The kind of regret that does not shout. It sits quietly in the heart and asks the same question repeatedly: why did I make them feel unwanted when they were the one person I wanted most? Your soulmate hopes you will hear this today. You were never difficult to love. You were difficult to deceive. You could feel inconsistency even when their words sounded convincing. You noticed when effort changed. You sensed when fear was speaking through their behavior. You did not ask for perfection, you asked for truth. And because they were not ready to face their own truth, they made you feel as though your needs were too much. They know that now. They remember the moments when you softened your voice to keep the peace. They remember when you pretended not to be hurt. They remember how your eyes changed after disappointment, even when you said, "It's okay." It was not okay. You were teaching yourself to accept less because losing them felt more painful than losing pieces of yourself. Heaven saw that. Every tear you hid was seen. Every message you typed and erased was seen. Every night you promised yourself you would stop caring, only to wake with the same ache, was seen. But you must understand something. This message is not arriving to command you to wait forever. It is not asking you to abandon your dignity or place your life on hold. Divine love does not require you to disappear so someone else can become comfortable. This message is arriving because the truth is changing, and your soul deserves to understand why you have felt that change. You may have noticed it already. A sudden memory. A vivid dream. A heaviness that did not feel like your own. A calmness appearing after weeks of confusion. A sense that someone, somewhere, is thinking of you with unusual intensity. Your soulmate has been standing at the edge of a decision. They have not fully crossed it yet, but they are closer than they have ever been. Something happened recently that forced them to look at their choices without excuses. It was not dramatic to anyone else, but it struck them with unexpected force. They witnessed a form of love they could no longer dismiss. Perhaps they saw two people choosing honesty after difficulty. Perhaps they heard someone speak about the pain of waiting too long. Perhaps they watched a relationship end because one person never found the courage to communicate. Perhaps an older voice told them that the deepest regrets are often not the things we did, but the love we were too afraid to protect. Whatever the moment was, it opened a door inside them. And behind that door was you. Not the idealized version of you. Not the memory softened by distance. You, as you truly are. Your patience. Your fire. Your tenderness. Your boundaries. Your imperfections. Your strange humor. Your emotional depth. The way you care even when you are tired. The way you try to understand people who have not always tried to understand you. They saw all of it at once, and for the first time, they stopped asking whether you were right for them. They began asking whether they had become ready for you. That question has changed everything. Your soulmate is realizing that love is not simply finding the right person. It is becoming honest enough to stop hiding from them. It is learning to communicate before silence becomes damage. It is choosing courage when fear offers 1,000 reasons to delay. And delay is what they regret most. They believed there would always be more time. More time to explain. More time to return. More time to prove that the distance was temporary. More time to tell you that you mattered. But something in them now understands that your heart is not a room they can leave and enter whenever they choose. You have been healing. You have been growing. You have been remembering who you were before uncertainty taught you to doubt yourself. They can feel that strength returning to you. And it scares them, because the stronger you become, the less likely you are to accept a half-love disguised as destiny. This is why their message is no longer merely, "I miss you." Missing you is only the surface. What they want to say is, "I finally understand what my fear cost us." They want to tell you that they replay the moment they should have chosen honesty. They want to admit that they acted unaffected because they felt too much. They want you to know that some of their coldest behavior came from their deepest confusion. But there is another confession beneath that one. They are not certain you will believe them. They know words may no longer be enough. They know that saying, "I care," cannot erase the moments when their actions made you feel alone. They know that an apology without change would only reopen what you have work to heal. So they have been thinking about proof. Not grand promises. Not dramatic declarations. Something real. Something that requires sacrifice, humility, and consistency. They have asked themselves what it would mean to approach you without defenses. They have imagined admitting where they were wrong without explaining it away. They have considered what they would need to release in order to stop repeating the patterns that pushed you apart. And there is one thing they know they must release. This is the part they have resisted. This is the part that has delayed the message. There is an influence around them, an old belief, a familiar voice, a past wound, or a person whose opinion has carried too much weight. It has shaped the way they viewed your connection. It has encouraged doubt when their heart felt certainty. It has reminded them of past pain whenever hope began to rise. For a long time, they trusted this influence more than they trusted the peace they felt with you. But recently, something was revealed. A contradiction. A hidden motive. A truth about advice they had accepted without question. Your soulmate began to understand that not everyone who warned them about you was trying to protect them. Some were projecting their own disappointment. Some feared losing control over your soulmate's choices. Some did not understand a connection that required emotional maturity. And one person may have seen the strength of your bond before your soulmate was ready to see it. That person knew you could change them. Not by force. By love. And change frightened those who benefited from your soulmate remaining uncertain. Now your soulmate is looking back at conversations they once believed. They are questioning comments that created distance. They are remembering moments when doubt appeared immediately after they spoke to someone else. The pattern is becoming clear. But the most painful part is not that someone influenced them. The most painful part is that they allowed it. They allowed another voice to become louder than their own heart. They let fear interpret your intentions. They judged your depth through the eyes of people who had never experienced your love. And now they want to tell you something they have barely been able to admit. They knew, even then, that something did not feel right. Each time they pulled away, part of them wanted to return. Each time they agreed with the doubts, something inside them resisted. Each time they tried to reduce your connection to something temporary, their soul refused to accept the explanation. This is why peace left them. Not as punishment. as direction. Sometimes the absence of peace is the soul's way of saying, you have stepped away from what is true. Your soulmate has been feeling that absence. They have achieved moments that should have satisfied them, yet something remained missing. They have smiled in rooms where their heart felt elsewhere. They have attempted to move forward, but some invisible thread kept turning their attention back toward you. They once believed this thread was weakness. Now they are beginning to see it as unfinished truth. But hear this clearly, unfinished does not always mean you must return to the past. Sometimes it means the truth must finally be spoken so both souls can be free. Sometimes it means reconciliation. Sometimes it means closure. Sometimes it means a new beginning that looks nothing like the old story. Your soulmate does not yet know which door you will choose. That uncertainty is humbling them. For the first time, they are realizing that they cannot control your response. They cannot decide that you will still be waiting. They cannot assume your heart will open simply because they finally found courage. They must come honestly, without entitlement. And that is exactly what they are preparing to do. There is a message they have been rewriting in their mind. It begins differently each time. Sometimes it starts with your name. Sometimes with an apology. Sometimes with a confession so direct that they become afraid and silence it before finishing. But the heart of the message remains the same. I never stopped caring. I only stopped knowing how to show it. They want to explain that their silence was not empty. It was crowded with fear, memory, pride, and longing. They want to tell you they have been fighting a battle you could not see. Yet heaven is urging them not to use pain as an excuse. Their wounds may explain their behavior, but they do not erase the hurt it caused. This is the lesson they are finally receiving. Real love does not say, accept my brokenness while I refuse to heal. Real love says, because you matter, I will face what keeps hurting us. Your soulmate is being called toward that kind of love. Whether they answer fully is still their choice. But something extraordinary is happening. They are no longer able to pretend they do not hear the call. The signs are becoming too clear. The memories are becoming too vivid. The regret is becoming too honest. And your absence is teaching them what your presence was worth. Perhaps you have been asking why this connection had to become so complicated. Why love could feel so deep and yet remain so uncertain. Why you were allowed to meet someone who awakened your heart only to watch fear stand between you. The answer is not that you were meant to suffer. The answer is that both of you were being revealed. You were shown the places where you abandon yourself to preserve connection. They were shown the places where they abandon connection to preserve control. You were learning boundaries. They were learning vulnerability. You were learning that love should not require endless guessing. They were learning that love cannot survive endless hiding. And now the lessons are approaching one another. Something is about to be decided. Not by fate alone. By courage. Your courage to honor what you know. Their courage to finally speak. There is a reason this message reached you today instead of yesterday. Yesterday, you may have heard it through desperation. You may have mistaken it as a command to chase, prove, or wait. But today, something in you is stronger. You can hear that someone loves you without surrendering your standards. You can recognize a soul connection without excusing emotional neglect. You can remain open without becoming unprotected. This is the version of you heaven was waiting to speak to. Your soulmate hopes you will hear that they are sorry. Not only for leaving. For the way they left you questioning yourself. They are sorry for every moment you wondered whether your sensitivity was a burden. They are sorry that you felt foolish for believing what you both felt. They are sorry they made you carry the emotional weight of a connection they were equally responsible for. But there is one apology they are most afraid to say. Because this apology reveals the truth they have hidden from everyone. They are sorry for making you believe there was someone or something more important than you when, deep within them, you were the person they compared everything else to. You became the silent measure. Conversations were compared to yours. Comfort was compared to yours. Attraction was compared to the way your presence moved through them. Even when they tried to begin again elsewhere, something felt incomplete. And then, not long ago, they discovered something about you. Something they were not meant to hear. Something that changed the way they understood the entire time you were apart. It may have come through a mutual connection, an unexpected conversation, or a truth spoken when your name appeared without warning. They learned what you had been carrying silently. They learned something you protected them from. They learned that during a moment when they believed you no longer cared, you were making a choice that required more love than they ever recognized. When they heard it, they could not respond immediately. They became still. The room around them continued, but inside, everything stopped. Because in that instant, they realized they had misunderstood one of the most important moments between you. What they once saw as distance was sacrifice. What they interpreted as indifference was restraint. What they believed was you giving up may have been you trying not to interfere with a choice they seemed determined to make. And now they are asking themselves a devastating question. What if they loved me enough to let me go, while I convinced myself they never loved me at all? That question has been following them. It has changed the message they want to send. Before, they wanted to tell you how they felt. Now, they need to ask what you endured. Before, they wanted reassurance that you still cared. Now, they understand that they must first acknowledge the cost of their silence. This is why you may feel their energy drawing closer. This is why old emotions are rising, but with a different quality. The story is not returning in the same form. A hidden truth has entered it, and once revealed, it cannot be ignored. Yet there is still one piece missing. The person who told them this truth did not tell them everything. They paused before revealing the final detail. Your soulmate noticed. They asked what had been left unsaid. At first, the person avoided the question. Then they warned your soulmate that the rest might be difficult to hear. Not because it would make them angry with you, but because it would force them to confront what happened during the exact period when they chose to pull away. Your soulmate insisted. They said they needed the truth, no matter what it revealed. The person looked at them for a long moment and finally spoke. The first sentence was not, "I miss you." It was not, "Can we talk?" It was a confession you never expected to receive. But just before they pressed send, another message appeared on their screen, one that revealed who had been standing between you all along.